I think we're about a minute early, but let's go ahead and get started. Oftentimes we've gone past 6. My goal for today is to be done by 5:27. Can I get an amen?
Amen. I'll be.
Okay. I sent all of you the agenda. Since then, there have been some things sent to me just in the last couple of days for possible additions. One is, I think we need to have a brief discussion about the library facilitator and para-contract days. So I'd like to add that to the agenda after Hilliard, unless there's an objection from anyone. And the other one was to just have a brief discussion about, there have been some questions about the boil order days, or whatever we want to call them. The strange and wonderful days, whatever we deem to call it. Any problem with that as an addition? Okay, so we'll, unless there is dissent, approve the agenda with those two additions. Alrighty. The minutes were sent to you from February 15th. Any questions, comments, concerns on those? Hearing none, are we all right with approving the minutes? Any dissent on that? Jessica, we started without you, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's a long drive. Yeah.
The only thing you missed, we nominated you to make a speech at the next.
Good for that.
Presentation.
All right, next on our list we have the insurance update. A number of the people in the room were on the insurance committee that heard the finalist presentations on Monday, I believe that was. And we have Lori Nilsson here with us from J.W. Terrell to give us kind of the synopsis of the day and the recommendation of that committee, and then we'll have some discussion about that. The packet, or the 2 pages that were handed to you, if you went to look on our website right now, you would see this exact same thing with the exception that the date has changed to July 17th. That is great news. Everything's going to remain exactly as it is. So, Lori, take it away.
Talk about steal my thunder.
Just forget that you heard that.
But yes, I will reiterate, everything is going to stay the same for the medical plan, the cost to the district, the cost to the employees, the coverage amounts, deductibles, stay exactly the same.
Network, too.
Network providers, Kansas City Blue Cross came back with a great proposal. They have helped us out with some costs, overall costs for the district and on the backside. So it seems like that's the most responsible decision to make and the least disruption for employees and the district as a whole. So we feel very comfortable making that recommendation and would entertain any questions that you all might have. But just so you know, an all-day insurance presentation back to back makes everyone hate insurance. So your committee members have done an excellent job representing you and listening to all of that information and helping to filter through that. I feel like that they did a great job asking those hard questions and getting negotiations on the table. So medical plan looks like exactly the way it looks today for another year. We did hear presentations from a couple of different vendors for vision, dental, and life insurance. And we heard from Cigna and we heard from MetLife. At this time, we are still waiting for a couple of extra things that we asked for. In any case, the coverage will be the same and the cost will be less. So we are looking to probably move to a different provider for dental and vision, but Cigna or MetLife would be the 2 options. At this stage, it looks like maybe MetLife might pull that out and be one lump sum, but we are, like I said, we're still waiting for their final revisions, but they did match the frame allowance on the vision plan. That was one that was in discrepancy, and they did match that for us. The dental, they obviously being a different carrier, there may be some dentists that as of today are not in network. But both carriers have guaranteed us that they will reach out to every single one of those dentists that have been used by SJSD employees and make every effort to get those in the network. They have contracted at a very generous rate of the usual and customary, so even if a dentist is not in the network, we're confident that they're going to pay those claims at the same rate as what an in-network dentist would pay. So you, as an employee or a patient, you would see the same or better rates than what you have today. Okay. Coverage, again, it's the same, with the plan levels being the same. The things that are covered under basic care are going to be covered under basic care. The things that are covered under advanced would be covered under advanced.
Cafeteria plan stays the same also?
Cafeteria plan we didn't address at this time. That would be in the fall as far as the providers, accident, cancer, disability, those kind of things. Or are you talking about just being able to pre-tax?
Flex
Pre-tax,
spending, yeah.
flex.
Flex, all that's to stay the same, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no changes to that. Okay. I think that
Any questions from any of you guys for Lori?
I would just comment, Lori, thank you for all you did to make this happen.
You're
because
welcome.
This didn't happen without hard work on your part.
You're welcome.
And so we really appreciate it.
You're
We
welcome.
didn't-
Thank you.
We were real skeptical because we didn't think it would happen.
Sure, sure.
Based
I
on,
told you you had too little faith.
oh, no, but, I mean, come on, based on what we dealt with last year.
Sure.
We didn't think that was ever gonna be an option again.
So this will be the first year in about 6 years that we don't do the rebate. That's the difference from the plan, is we don't do the rebates we did before.
You won't have a rebate this year, but the structure on the back end is going to be a little bit different. So instead of giving the insurance company the money to hold for
Right.
6 or 9 months, you get to keep that money in the district coffers and use that money to pay claims. So as it currently sits, you all have been able to build a reserve of $1.4 million, and we're projecting that to just continue to grow. So you wouldn't recognize the rebate, but you get to hold on to your money and earn the interest on that instead of waiting for someone to give it back to you.
Yeah, that's what I like, is
Yeah.
the front end on our money as opposed to the back end.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Is it one of the things that we talked about in the insurance thing was more education from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that's something they're guaranteeing that they're going to help us do more, is to educate our employees. There are a lot of things doing that, and I knew very little going in and watching the presentations, but there's things there's hidden little gems that I think nuggets that we don't all know about, and they're gonna do a little better job of getting that out to our employees and stuff, so that you can find little things that work better for you and stuff.
So your role with our self-insurance, I mean, you're gonna help guide us into that process also, or?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
How does it look so far?
It looks excellent. The pre-work has been done to set you up to a very financially sound position moving into a self-insured funding arrangement. You have the money there to pay those claims as they're coming in, and have the projections out into the future so that you know that you're going to continue to build that reserve instead of deplete it. So I think that we've been able to lower some of those fixed costs, like the cost of paying claims and the cost of the reinsurance or the cap. Yep. We've been able to lower those costs so that you can keep that money instead of giving it to Kansas City Blue.
So what's the change, would you say, on that end? I mean, what kind of savings are we talking about here? I mean, do you have a projection on that yet?
As far as even just the fixed fees when we look at them,
Right.
currently you're paying about $45, 44 something per member per month on those fixed fees. The quotes that we're looking at are less than $20 per member per month. So
That's great.
that's just kind of one place to be able to save money initially. But like he was alluding to, those programs that Kansas City Blue is offering on a continual basis and that they've offered to help pay for some further data analytics will help too. They showed a graphic on Monday that showed the healthy people in the plan, the emerging people in the plan, and then the high claims utilizers. The target is that middle group, to keep them either in the middle group or help them reduce to the healthy living group. And so that, by using the data analytics, by using the conditioned care and the claims management, it helps to afford those people in that middle group maintenance type programs. So to help keep diabetes maintained,
Right.
to if somebody's on the cusp of a weight loss situation, it helps them to stay in that good managed category instead of jumping up into a high claimant situation. Diabetes is a precursor to a lot of different terrible things that kick you up into the high claimant category. So just by helping to identify and manage that middle of the road, it really helps to make the plan operate more efficiently and then able to put more money in the coffers. It's been all along the administration's goal to get to the point where we can put enough money into that reserve account to then fund additional programs for the employees, like fund the dental plan and the vision plan, instead of having employees contribute to those for the employee only or whatever, have that money available to do that.
That's great. So
So I think
last
we're well on our way.
year's plan came in around 690, so we have a projection on it right now, I mean,
The premiums are going to stay the same.
okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, so
But our costs are, we don't,
the costs are not near as much.
Okay,
Correct.
excellent.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little about the telehealth? That's through Blue Cross?
The app where you can visit the doctor, sure.
Right.
That is an additional service that Blue Cross is currently has a pilot program, and they're going to have out for us for the 7-1, to where you can have a virtual visit on your handheld device instead of having to leave school that day. If you everybody kind of knows what strep throat feels like, and you have to have a prescription for it. So if you're able to log in, have a virtual visit, it goes into your chart immediately. They have record of it. They can notify your regular physician as well, but they can call you in a prescription. You can do it from the break room, the car in the parking lot, wherever is convenient for you to use that virtual device. And the copay on that is similar then to an office visit copay instead of an urgent care after work or an emergency room
Right.
after work. So it not only saves you time, it's more convenient, but then it also helps the plan by appropriately charging the plan for that service instead of an urgent care or an emergency room visit.
that's great.
Well, and I just wanted to kind of add to what Paul was saying. I even recommended that they do a PD or training with the nurses, and then we can do a PD/training with you guys to let you know what all is on that website and how the website can actually truly help, especially those emergent people, to help to get their health under control so that we don't have the higher claims rising, and just to come to the nurse as a resource that we can actually help them, and then teach them how to work the website to help their health.
That's a good idea.
Lori or Wes, both of you guys, were there anything you want to add from the finalist presentations? Are you sure, Wes?
No, I did all my talking at the finalist presentations.
Any other questions for Lori?
So the health check stays the same too, then the employee, if they don't do the health check, they still get the surcharge on their plan?
Right, those,
Okay, that
the
stays the same
caveats
also.
to the plan won't change at all. We'll be able to offer that. And hopefully, there are wellness dollars available, additional wellness dollars available, so then we can help to enhance the current wellness program. Maybe we can put in some additional incentives, maybe we can help make a point system or something in order to get additional dollars available. But at this point, everything will stay exactly the same, only to be better in the future.
And
Excellent.
you did say life insurance, it's a lesser cost, right? A lesser cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, also, wasn't it with Blue Cross that they also have the app that they will give you for prescriptions, a breakdown of different pharmacies and
Yeah.
maybe,
Yes.
was that them?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's RX Savings Plus. It's on their website now. You can go in there and click on it. I think it's RX Savings Plus. I looked at it last night, actually. But yeah, just go into the Healthier You. There's all kinds of stuff that's on
Yeah.
there.
Well, I
That's
thought they were
new,
gonna
so they
use
haven't
the
really
wellness
advertised it because
program.
they were kind of,
It was
but-
new.
Right.
yeah, it was new.
Oh, excellent. Very
Savings
pleased.
Plus or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, it's right there on that
Okay.
KC Blue. You click on it, it's pretty
You
big.
can set it up for text alerts or email alerts, so that if you have a regular prescription and you're used to getting it filled at one pharmacy or the other, you can get an alert if for some reason it happens to be cheaper at the other pharmacy.
I was very impressed. So it was a long day, but it was a good day, and I think we were all happy at the end of the day. So, yeah, very
Thank you
excited.
again for all of your work.
You're
That's-
welcome.
very much.
You're welcome.
It's a huge deal.
It feels good to be able to deliver this kind of news.
For all of us.
Okay. Anything else?
can't think of anything else.
All right, you probably have a lot of driving to do.
I do have some driving, yes.
We'll let you go.
All right,
Um,
thank you all.
Kind of what I feel like we need from this group, the insurance committee obviously is making the recommendations that Lori just outlined. The people in the room that were on the insurance committee, Jessica, myself, Lori, Wes, Paul, that guy.
It's Paul's fault if you
Well,
didn't
when
know
I
his name, you
looked, I
didn't
saw
know his name.
Julie, and I thought, well, that's not Julie. So I guess, do you guys feel comfortable approving the recommendation of the committee, or does there need to be more discussion about
I
that?
don't, I mean,
That's great.
This is
I think
great.
it's a dream come
Job.
true,
Excellent.
personally.
It's a
Thank you
blessing.
very
Yeah,
much.
it really is.
Shoot.
Well, we will pass on
You're
then
up to
to the next stage, what the recommendation was. Thank you.
That's great.
Good deal. Lori,
Thank you.
Drive safely.
Thank you so much.
Don't run over any deer.
It's raccoons
You
that
win
I
a
have
free
problems
water.
with. Thank you.
You gotta have one or the other. That's the best.
That's right, that's right. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks
good
very
day.
much. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that really is an exciting prospect. That's pretty much unheard of to get that kind of a deal on insurance.
2 years in a row.
Yeah. The next thing on the calendar, we need to talk about Eclipse Day. Yeah. We talked about this a number of months ago, and this was, gosh, way back in September, I think, wasn't it?
Calendar committee. Yeah.
And, oh, yes. Let's skip this one for right now. Dr. Newhart wanted to be present for this discussion, and he'll be here in a little bit.
He's in a meeting.
Yeah, so we'll come back to the calendar. Let's look at the additional pay rates. This document, I think I sent to everybody. I hope I did.
Yeah.
Okay. There really are no substantial changes to this document. There was a reorganization of things, and I tried to shorten it somewhat. You'll find the things in red, is that it? The things in red, like on the first page, administrative, intern, summer school pay. That was on the additional pay rates, but it also appears on the summer school schedule. I don't see any need for it to be two places, so I would like to just take it off of the additional pay rates, and it'll remain on the summer school schedule where it applies. AEL part-time secretary, that shows up on the salary schedule for the adult learning program, so I took that off. Early childhood screening, the staff support, was at $15 per hour, and was recommended by Dr. Kohlhauer that be moved to pay at the individual's hourly rate. For most people that are involved in that, it will be an increase. There is a potential decrease for a couple of people. So that's a recommendation. If you have questions on any of this, go ahead and stop me as we're going through them.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
On the acuity, we're under the impression that's not gonna be around next year.
There's potential for that not to be around. The person that's in that, working with Dr. Lau right now is retiring, and the proposal from her is to hire someone who would incorporate that duty
Okay.
into their schedule. So if that happens, the assessment part of that would be done by that person, and that would go away, but we don't know what's going to happen with that yet, so I have left it for now.
Okay, on the music, I noticed that a lot of secondary get paid for off-contract hours for their productions, which is understandable because that's lots of time.
For their what?
Like for their productions,
Uh-huh.
for off-contract. Do elementary music teachers get compensated for the off-contract concerts, or is that just considered a duty of theirs? I don't think it's on there.
I don't believe that's on there, and I ran this by Darren Verbeek to ask for changes, and he didn't say anything to me.
Well, that was my question, because secondary does,
For the,
unrequired, but like
Yeah.
for the concerts, they do it night.
that's,
Do you know Dr. Norman?
that?
And I don't believe
Do
there's
music teachers get compensated
additional one
for
on.
their concerts
For elementary, in most other districts I've been in, they do not.
I don't think that's common.
Okay, that was just my question. On the coverage for class period, that isn't being done in elementary buildings, the $10 an hour, and nor has it been the communication isn't there. Like, I don't know if we've talked to a handful of principals and that's not, it's just not something that's happening at elementary level.
It is at some elementaries.
It is?
Yes.
At some elementaries, okay. So I
Yeah,
don't know
that-
something.
That information was given to all the principals right at the start of the year, I believe. Isn't that the case,
extra
Dr.
meeting.
For the coverage for class period?
I know the message was also sent through several buildings, and I was even told this directly, that it was only if it was over our plan time.
No, that's not.
Right, but I'm saying that's the message that went out to a lot of people, from what I understand. So that needs to be.
We need a clarification
clearly,
on that
yes.
to all.
Maybe the
Yes.
email doesn't need to be through, or maybe the information doesn't need to come through the principals then. It needs to come just as an email to everybody.
Yeah, and staff is
Across the
oblivious
district,
generally.
because
to it.
Wes has said there's a place right there on where you log in or whatever, to be able to do that, it's super easy. If it's not been communicated through the principals, then maybe we need to communicate to all staff.
Well, and if we see it, we think, oh, that's probably for something else, or for someone else, you know, you don't think, oh, that's probably not for me.
Well, and most of our teachers don't have to clock in or out for 10 o'clock plus, so they wouldn't even know
That it was there.
option is there if it
Exactly.
hasn't been communicated.
It's online.
Right,
Mine
but
was just
you,
added today though.
right, but you're used to timing in and timing out, where our certified staff does not.
Okay, yeah, we'll get something sent out.
And I noticed the difference between curriculum writing and then curriculum lighting for the arts, is there's quite a difference there.
That'll be a question that I will send back with Dr. Norman to discuss with Dr. Williams.
I had one on
Is it a time
firefighters.
thing?
I think it's a time thing, I could be wrong.
On the firefighters, it used to be paid per course, now it's gone to 25 an hour. Does that include, for instance, they have to do trainings outside of the typical classroom time, or if they do competitions, or
Which one is that?
firefighters, I have to find it
Firefighters.
myself, at line 35.
Yeah, it's HTC, it's in the middle of page 2. That will fall under the instructor contact classes, so that will go up to at least $30.
Okay, so that would go up to 30?
Well, yeah, it's going to be moved to the Hilliard schedule, and then it would fit under the instructor, contract classes.
Okay, gotcha. Also,
And you've got the Hilliard's schedule in the packet.
technology training, line 78, technology training during non-contract time, it's $50 per session. If we set a time on sessions, is that a hour session, two-hour session? I'm assuming if we're doing a $25 an hour rate, that's 2-hour session, but it doesn't really make it clear.
Okay, we'll get some clarification on that. That's a good point.
Are we looking to add things to this, or?
I hope not, but if we need to, we do.
The only thing I can think of in my brain I mean, there's several, but going back through the job I did and knowing what these guys do now is after-school waits in the winter. They are there for 2 to 3 hours a night and do it for free.
Say that one more time.
After-school weightlifting at the high school.
Weightlifting.
I mean, I mean, you basically do it for free. And you couldn't do it for every coach that stays, obviously. I mean, you'd have to
You have
set a
to do like
limit
a
and
head
say,
coach?
or it had to either be a head coach or 2 coaches a night or something like that, but it's something that,
What I'd
I'll
like,
tell you, they're cranking out hours on it.
yeah, what I'd like you to do with that, Paul, is get a recommendation from Dr. Haynes, because that would fall under his
Sure,
jurisdiction, and
Okay.
have that to me like within a week if you could.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate place for that recommendation to come from, because
Okay.
that would fall under
Yes,
his.
thank you.
Sure.
Hilliard's training on if they do radiology competitions. I think we had mentioned that if they go off, they have to go to radiology, if they do competitions through oh, what's that called? They have a national organization, it's like TSA, Skills USA. If they do a Skills USA competition, do we have any kind of methodology of compensating those instructors?
At this point in time, there isn't one that I'm aware of.
Brian,
Yeah.
would you recommend similar to the,
Yeah, the TSA, it's the same exact thing that we have. I think they do it with firefighters, they do it with radiology, they do it with welding. And it's the same thing, they have to go for numerous days, and, I mean, it wouldn't be hard to make a category if we could do it.
make note of that, Brian?
Okay. It's Skills USA competitions?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, what else are you?
On
anything?
the elementary teacher after hour PD, what circumstances is that? It's on line 26.
Yeah, and if you have paper copies, it's the second thing on page 2. Elementary teacher after hours PD.
One of the things we've talked about is like new special education teachers, if there was required training, or any other type of required training that teachers would have after school, like more of a district level, we would want to be able to have an opportunity to compensate them.
Okay.
So they're taking the word
Yeah,
elementary out of
taking
there.
the word elementary out of
Wouldn't
there
be
because
elementary
it'll,
teachers, it
it'll
would be
apply to all
Teachers
teachers.
after
after
hour,
school.
yeah, because it's red on them.
Yeah,
So that
But we
would
would want to
open
make
up
it
for anybody.
consistent.
Right.
right.
This is a non-compensation category, but a category where, and I know in middle school, we track ISS held within classrooms. Because eventually what we're gonna have to do
We
is
have
either,
that in
you know,
elementary too.
yeah, we're holding a lot of these kids in classrooms. And I don't necessarily say we should be compensated, but can we develop a way of tracking those number of hours to say, well, maybe it might be a good thing to hire somebody to do it? Because that's something I get a lot of comments about.
I don't think there's any doubt that people would say it's a good idea to get ISS supervisors. It's the matter of how are you going to allocate.
Right. I mean, if we could just track it, if there was some methodology of tracking would be handy to have.
I'm not sure what that would look like, but I'll write it down. Is that an issue at the elementaries as well?
Yes, it is. I mean, some elementaries more than others, obviously, but it is. There's a lot of times we have ISS kids in our rooms,
Okay.
some other rooms. On the gifted testing and it's PEGS, it's 55. Is that off contract testing or is that additional pay for being on contract time?
That's outside of contract time, I believe.
And then we have, if you go on down, there's reading assessments, testing students half class, testing students full class. Compensation, where does that fall under? I mean, is that like acuity and math testing? Do we get?
I don't have the
Just
slightest-
saying, I don't.
I don't have the slightest idea what that is.
Dr. Norman, do you have
I
any
don't.
idea what that is? Because when I think reading assessment half class or whole class, or is that a reading teacher pulling kids in a younger class?
We'll dig into that and see
'Cause
if
that
somebody
was-
else put it on there.
Because that seems like that would be during contract time, correct? Because you wouldn't be pulling kids.
Unless you're pulling someone who's not on contract in to do it.
Oh, an
that would
assessment,
be
maybe a
paid rate.
retired teacher or something?
Aren't all of these things off contract?
The vast majority. What you have to remember is this document, when I got here 11 months ago, was almost 6 pages long.
Okay.
It's now 3.5, and it needs to be shorter. So there are some things on there, I don't have the slightest idea what they are. I've never seen them paid out. What we did
Okay.
this time with it was took out the after taxes because everybody's tax rate is different.
Okay.
There was no way to even figure that, so.
And then there's the special ed assessment, which is the same type of question. If there's administering and scoring, and it's paid per assessment or per hour, or you can't administer off contract time.
Those, I did talk to Dr. Kohlhauer about, those are typically 550 retirees that
Okay.
come in to do
All right.
that testing.
On the PD preparation, should it say PD presentation preparation? Or is it just doing something to get ready for PD? I mean, because you do that all the time, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it means.
maximum on that per building though, it depends
Yeah, I'm thinking that should be PD PD presentation preparation as opposed to, hey, I've got to read this book, pay me $25 an hour to read this book for my PD.
Okay, so you're saying add the word presentation.
I think it's supposed to be presentation preparation.
That makes sense,
Yeah,
instead of,
if you're a presenter for PD.
well, it's $100 maximum, so you probably can't
Yeah.
get a book written for it.
Depends on how quick.
Depends
you
on the
read.
book.
All right, what else are you seeing?
There was this middle school Friday school? Is that after school?
Yep.
There's two different ones, yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah.
I was like, is that like the Zaps or whatever? Zeros aren't an option?
It's
or-
anywhere from Zaps and behavior.
Okay. Yeah, I was just,
Yeah, that's a norm for us.
okay, that's fine. I was just, and summer middle school benchmark? It's on the last page, I believe.
It's another one I don't know.
Do you know?
75.
Well, I mean, I know what it is, but
Okay.
What is
It probably can be deleted, because nobody knows what it is.
Do you know what it is?
Summer.
Oh, hold on. Lori knows what it is. What is that, Lori?
For several years, we were writing benchmarks.
Oh, so it's like,
And so it was a benchmark, it was a group that came and met during the summer and wrote
okay.
the benchmarks, which,
There's another
is that
assessment thing.
is that a practice that's continuing, Lori, or not?
no,
No.
Okay.
You can eliminate that.
And there's an assessment thing for something like that anyway, in here.
I mean,
You can combine
the
that.
last benchmarks that were written were done in conjunction with the curriculum program.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so does anyone
There's
think of a reason
assessment
why
writing
that?
already in
Okay,
here.
why that shouldn't be stricken from the list?
It would fall,
Strike it.
it would fall under the other one, that's like on the first or second page.
Okay,
Okay.
There was something, I knew I saw Skills USA somewhere on this.
was that
I
on
didn't know
the,
if that included what you were talking about or not.
I think that's the stipend for
Right.
actually being the Skills USA sponsor.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a,
So it's not best.
I
Those
mean,
are
the
all-
emolument, it's not a stipend.
Those are all my pink marks.
Okay, so if they get a Skills USA stipend to be the sponsor, then wouldn't that include if they went to contest? Because just like, I'm thinking of a stipend that you get for Brain Bowl or Quiz Bowl or whatever.
I guess
That includes if you go to nationals or whatever, I mean, that's your stipend, that's what you get paid. So we don't want to be paying them in addition to anybody else that we pay a stipend for. That would include their, yeah, like that includes, I'm thinking of even our debate and forensics coaches or whatever. If their kids go to nationals, do we pay them extra? If they make nationals, I don't think we do, I think it
No,
all
that would
falls
be-
under the same stipend. So I would
Well, I
question
mean,
whether
it'd
we
be the
would
same
want
thing
to.
with your basketball team with the state. I mean,
I just don't think they're getting it right now, are they?
Well, they're getting a stipend, it looks like, for being the
the sponsor.
The
sponsor, and that's what
Well, if
everybody
they are,
else
that
gets.
would cover it then.
Yeah,
Right.
I think so too.
Right.
I didn't see that earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Under the, it's on
Yeah,
the,
I
yeah.
looked tonight, I saw it.
Yeah, so that should cover everything. That's, if they agree to it and take that stipend, that means it covers everything they're gonna do with their group of students.
I think that's the, I mean, we're being
Yeah.
equitable.
Yeah, that's in category 7. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that either, that's a good point.
So take that.
Anything else on,
If I had chocolate, I'd.
anything else on additional pay rates? Okay, now let's jump back to, and I'll make those changes and talk to the people we talked about, needing to contact, and we'll finalize that next time. Calendar, we'll go back to calendar since Dr. Newhart's here. Back in September, we talked at fairly significant length about Eclipse Day. Do we have school, do we not have school? Do we make it an educational experience? Do we let out? The decision at that point had been to go ahead and have school as usual. Since then, there's been some eclipsing information coming out. About
A shadow has been cast on
There has been some desire from certain groups within the city saying, hey, we really think it'd be better if you're out of school, whether that's emergency preparedness or various groups, that's really beside the point. So what we need to discuss tonight, there have been several options suggested, and that doesn't mean we can't come up with another suggestion here. The suggestions are currently, number one would be to just not have school the 21st, go to 168 student days, which would leave us with 4 built-in snow days, would be all. We have 6 this year. A second option would be to move the start of school 1 day earlier. So on the calendar there, where teacher's first day is the 9th, the teacher's first day would be the 8th, and the first student day would be the 15th. That would leave us at 169 with 5 built-in weather days. The other suggestion was to, on the 22nd of December, the 21st of December would be a full-length day, the 22nd of December would be an early release day, so that would also keep us at 169 with 5 built-in days. And then, like I said, if there are other suggestions, we could entertain those. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to all of them. The other thing that we can do is say, we already said we're going to school and we're going to go to school. So those basically 4 ideas. Any general comments from anyone?
Our members overwhelmingly said to do nothing, just to take it as a day off, which then would result in 4 built-in days. However, our question was this past Friday with the boil order day. It's our understanding that didn't count against our snow days because it wasn't weather related. So, but it went based on hours. Correct me if I'm wrong with Desi, correct, Dr. Newhart?
Can I speak, Mr. Kraus?
Absolutely.
With DESI, it just counts as a day out. It doesn't count as a weather day.
So
We don't make it up.
So could that be the same option for this day?
And keep our fresh
Well,
snow
what
days.
you have now though, Melissa, since we haven't turned this calendar in to DESI, August, core data date is when we turn the calendar in for 17, 18. We have a chance to correct it one way or the other.
Okay.
Once you do that, any changes is, like the boil order day, we have to report it, but we don't make that boil order day up. So it just doesn't go against a weather day. If we do a day out on the 21st, we'd be completely shut down. It'd be like a holiday. I just want everybody to understand that drops the built-in days to 4. And then if we miss any more days, like 5 or 6 or 7, those would be made up at the end of the school year.
So you use the keywords district shutdown. Would that mean that the support personnel would be paid for that?
It'd be a paid day.
Maybe like a holiday.
Okay, there we go.
So, but if there's a boil order, if there's a boil day next year,
The calendars aren't set yet, so it would not be a
we
big
wouldn't
deal.
have to make it up if we've already had 4 snow days?
Correct.
Oh,
Okay.
no way.
Well,
If you change the calendar.
It's a wash to me because currently right now we're in school. It'd be a savings to us if we made it an unpaid holiday.
It's not a savings, I'm just saying it would be, because it's not a holiday. Because
Well, we have-
the 9-month employees don't get holidays.
It'd be a day out of school, right?
Yeah, so it would be a non-paid day.
It'd be, okay, for 12 month, it'd be a.
Right,
have a
a
suggestion
holiday for the 12 months,
We
but
have a
for the
suggestion.
Wait a
the
minute, you
parents
said
and the
it'd be-
librarians
No,
and.
No, you just said
It'd be just like if you were out March 17th, here next week.
We wouldn't be using PTO day for that day.
It wouldn't be an option.
No, it wouldn't be an option because it would be a reduction.
It would be a
Next
reduction of
Next
your
Friday,
Calendar.
we're out of
calendar
school,
days. It
correct?
would be in
Right, but
your
that wasn't,
negotiated
that's not
card.
counted as a day for them to work.
Well, could we do,
Well, that's no different than August 21st next year, would be not counted as a day of work.
well, how about if we made a compromise and with the support personnel, we let them, ESP stuff, come in a day earlier
At the beginning of
at
the
the beginning of the year, because the teachers are already gonna be there early, and we
That
could
way
let
they
them
don't
come in
lose
and
a
make
day
up
on
that day, that way
contract.
they wouldn't have that day off. They'd still get paid for it.
Or we could just keep the calendar and go to school, people.
I think it'll be, I'm a little worried it'll be like the ice day, the kids won't be able to get home.
I'm worried
Right.
about kids not being able to get home. I worry about liability issues with them not wearing their glasses because I know kids and
And
if
so
you're out
much-
looking at it, and that's a big liability.
And so many extras in the population.
And the extras in
St.
the
Joe's gonna be
population.
packed.
Attendance in general would probably be horrible that day.
Well, I'll wait to see if there's 500,000 people in St. Joe.
They were asked, a group from China asked to buy Menards parking lot for the day.
They bought it or they rented it?
Like wanted to like.
I might have to rent my duplex out.
Airbnb
trucks.
I know all those smart St. Joe people leave town.
Well, I think the primary concern is the support personnel are gonna lose a day of pay.
Well,
And that's the concern.
and we have yet to set the number of days for support personnel, so that discussion could be dealt with then. I think what we have to do here is whether we're gonna be in school or not.
Okay.
If you understand, I mean, those days are where support personnel determination on number of days worked to be offered, or however that is set up, is yet to be decided anyway, Todd.
No, Dr. Newhart, we have a 12-month calendar for our support people that are 12-month people. You're
12
talking,
months?
right, but I think he's talking about 12-month people, aren't you?
No,
Oh, you're not talking about
pairs.
I apologize, I thought you meant
Oh,
all
no.
support
The
people.
9.
Yeah, or support personnel.
All
Like
support people,
the
yeah,
ones
we're
that
to
report with
determine.
teachers.
Right.
Okay, so I'm sorry, because I thought you meant everybody, but you don't mean everybody. Okay.
But with 12-month report.
Yeah, unless they take a PTO day.
No, 12 months.
12-month would not
So I'm
report. Right.
You just said a few minutes
No, I
ago they
didn't.
would.
No.
No, I didn't, I said it'd be a complete shutdown.
Yeah.
So we would
Complete
But the
consider
wording
district
in our
shutdown.
leave policy, if it was a complete shutdown, they get
Right.
paid.
They get paid. That was my
So
point
we have to
earlier.
decide
It
how
won't be a
this.
shutdown because the
Because we
calendar
already
has
have
been
it in the calendar.
submitted.
It's already in the
Listen,
calendar.
guys, the difference is right now is that we already have a calendar in place. Reported to DESI, required, and if I have a complete shutdown tomorrow of the district, they would be paid.
Yes.
The difference right now is we have a chance to correct this calendar. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Because it has not been
It
submitted.
has not been set, it has not been turned into DESI yet.
It's been
And so we can make the choice to pay them or not.
We can make the choice, we can determine the calendar, we can determine the days, however we want to do it.
Shut down and pay 'em.
But
If the total is shutdown, that's okay.
when I
They
say,
have to say they're.
I cannot believe if Trails West is adding an additional day, they're going into Monday. Okay, and everything the emergency management people are telling us, I dislike having to make a change. I want to tell you guys that, I'm like Lori is on this, I dislike it. But everything is indicating that we're probably better off not being in school.
21st.
I think it'll be a low attendance day for kids and teachers too, because there are people already looking for subs and, you know, there can be, you know, I think I was wearing the other day my World Series Royals thing, remember the Blue Day down, you know, I mean, I don't know about St. Joe, but Savannah schools were about empty of kids and people. And so I think if we jump ahead, I mean, as much as I don't want to lose the instruction, well, really, it's more that we've vetted it all the way through,
Right. Well, even if,
everything, even through, you know, and set our calendar, and now we're gonna go back and change it, you know
even
what
if
I
it's a
mean?
cloudy, rainy day, people are gonna take off school and drive to where they can see it, somewhere on the path. And so either way, we lose. I mean, attendance day is gonna kill us on that
Yeah,
day.
attendance.
I mean,
Okay,
it's-
let's, to get us started here, I want to take a straw poll. This is non-binding. You don't have to sign any blood or anything. We're going to vote whether you think we ought to be in school or not be in school. Let's start with that. If you think that we should not be in school that day, raise your hand. Okay, if you think we should be. Okay.
We're non-voting.
Non-voting members, okay, those of you who think we should be in school. Okay, so that part's settled. Now we need to decide, are we gonna make up the day, and if so, when?
I don't want to lose another day of instruction.
Okay, to me, I think that's a valid concern, but I don't know. This year,
Because we've
we have
already-
170 contact days, we go back to 168. Is that best for kids?
No.
Teachers, what do you think?
The only pushback I had was the one, I didn't get as much objection when I talked to people about start a day earlier. You know, I think that people felt like they were worried about, cutting I don't know.
Christmas one was the more concern I had.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ours
those
was-
start
ours
the
was
day
ex-
earlier.
Ours
Really?
was exactly, our
See,
people
we're
did
gonna have
not
a
want to
split
come
on
back
that.
earlier.
No.
Our people would rather go into December, so it's gonna be.
Yeah, the concerns I heard were from the special ed department and academic services, that they already have venues booked for the PD days, and moving those might or might not be possible.
Dr. Cross, I heard from a couple of ladies in here that do phone calls, and they said they've already told tons of people that called specifically asking for vacation. That was their concern. I'm just throwing that out there. Parents have already scheduled vacations. I don't know.
At the
For
beginning,
August?
before,
In August? Oh, yeah.
To get that last little trip in before school starts.
That wouldn't surprise
And
I
they
mean, you
told,
already-
and when they called, they said, we were planning on a trip vacation, we wanna know when school starts, and so they.
Yeah. I don't think we should.
Karen for sure said she
I mean,
spoke
you have-
several, so I don't, I'm just throwing it out there.
2 full weeks and a day at Christmas. So I don't think making the 21st and, a full day and then your 22nd an early out is gonna be that, you're still gonna have 2 full weeks and an early out day at Christmas. And then Monday, on the 8th, that's a PD day, so you still don't have kids that day. I mean, I think that's where you wanna use it, not at the beginning of school.
I know, option
I think that makes more sense.
Allison
Roy?
runs that table.
Shed some light on this subject from your perspective.
He doesn't have a voice.
Well, I can't argue with the logic of not having school that day because it's probably going to be a zoo one way or the other, and you're putting a lot of people at risk, and that would put a severe burden on our liability, whatever, any scenario like that. But of course, it could also be like Y2K too, and just be a non-issue. But we all know how that turned out. And I agree, I mean, you could back up the start of school to the 8th versus whatever it was, That would, to me, would be the first best logical thing to do. If somebody's planning a vacation up until the 15th versus the 16th, or 14th versus the 15th or what have you, they're cutting it close as it is. So,
Our concern there were the venues, though, that have already been.
They've already been booked.
The problem is, we've already taken this out, and we've already told our members
The 3 options.
the 3 options, and we said, one of the options was, we're gonna use a snow day on that day. And that didn't come from our organizations, I mean, we took the other 2 bookends of it, and now we have overwhelming numbers saying, well, let's do that, and now we're kind of pulling that option off the table, and
that's the easiest thing to do.
It is the easiest
thing to do.
Don't change the calendar other than plugging that day in as a non-school day.
In advocating for our groups, the 4 of us would
Yes, strongly.
do nothing.
have to advocate for
Cancel the
option
day and 4 snow days.
Won't we lose a day though with the support staff?
Well, that's, we'd
Well,
have
but
to,
that's where we're
gonna have to
Still
figure
gotta be
something out.
still gotta be
negotiated.
determined.
The money's already budgeted for those employees, so if we had them come in a day early, I mean, what
Those
would that
days,
hurt?
again,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to be figured out
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
They're not
I
settled
mean, we
yet.
would wanna know that in advance here before we don't wanna leave the sport people hanging here, losing another day.
Again, the thing I wanna make sure everybody knows, I mean, it'd be just like this year, we're in our 5th day of the 6th. So if we use 5 days next year, we're making up a day on May 21st.
Yeah, that's
On a
fine.
Monday.
When
That's
people
what
have
we have
already
to
scheduled
communicate.
vacation.
Our
Well,
members, it was, and I believe you
but
said it was
that's
the
a
same.
much longer time away.
Overwhelming, people
They
said,
can-
just take the chance.
Right,
Yeah.
And so if you're wanting to know what your staff is saying to you,
That's
that's
it.
what they're saying.
overwhelmingly, yeah.
Okay, don't be in
Over
school, we
70%.
understand, but just leave it alone and take our chances.
And our members aren't just teachers.
The
No,
other
I mean,
thing-
that was
Nope.
our
The other
entire
thing-
membership body.
Todd, Melissa, Eric, Melissa, what I don't want everybody to get accustomed to is a 169 or 168 day calendar,
Right,
okay?
That's-
This is like an abnormality.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to get back to
We
the
get that.
170,
right.
okay? And we need to remember that in the configuration of the 18-19 calendar next year.
Bridget put that
Okay.
on our calendar thing.
It's on the parking lot.
Parking lot.
No, we understand that, we do.
Okay, that-
Yeah, absolutely.
We do.
It's just
the
once in
This
a,
is
yeah,
the incident,
Really,
yeah.
once in a 5 lifetime, I think.
Amy, what do you think?
I guess I'm kind of speechless and that don't happen very often. I'm just saying.
Well, what are your concerns? Your concern is just losing the day, right?
Right. I mean, if we know ahead of time, oh, you can come in a day early, knowing that we won't lose pay, because when you mention that word lose pay, oh my lord.
But you said it would be a total shutdown, so they.
It won't be on the
It won't,
calendar.
because they were doing it ahead of
Two
time.
things have not occurred yet.
Yeah.
We can make this calendar, we can make this calendar anything we want. It would be a total shutdown if we kept it as a school day and we got to August
And decided.
and decided not to have it.
Because you
Okay.
probably, Right like that.
But we haven't configured or decided yet on the support staff number of workday schedule yet. So all that can be, we were planning on looking at that anyway, guys. So I don't know if we do want to tie both of them together, but I don't want to bog this down. Not knowing if it's gonna be 174, 175, whatever that workday support staff schedule will be. Okay?
And I get like paras are different than the library people. I mean, the library people I feel do need more days than if the paras can't get back all their days. But I feel that as a para, we need to be a part of our all building staff meeting.
And PD, some of them.
To be able to meet the new people in the building. I mean,
The primary driver of this whole issue is, do we want the kids in school on that Monday?
No.
You've got to collectively, once we
Well,
decided that, then we
already
pivot off
decided that.
everything else. Okay.
either way we go,
Yeah, and everything pivots off of that anyway, so
I mean, we're darned if we do and darned if we don't.
somebody's going to complain no matter what.
Exactly.
So you just,
This will get the least complaints,
forward.
not just one
Yeah.
Monday, but we have to
So
figure out.
Amy,
what-
if I could summarize your concern, if it does not negatively impact your number of contract days, you're good with not having the day made up?
Yep.
Brandy, what do you think?
Yes.
Julie?
Well, something I heard from Julie. Here she is.
Julie?
Yeah.
What do you think, Jessica? Okay. So we, later on in our agenda, have a discussion already about number of contract days for library facilitators, paras. So can we tie this into that? Okay, so
Yes.
we were in agreement, didn't see any dissension about, everybody was unanimous that we not be in attendance that day, correct?
Right.
Okay.
But
No,
not
well,
be in
except for-
attendance and what? And
Well-
have one less
That's August 21st.
snow
That's-
day?
One less snow day.
They were saying that they
corner
had overwhelming feedback not to do either of the other options, just to have the day and go to 4 snow days, 168 and 4, correct?
And we know that we want to get the contract days back to 170 for the next year.
Because this is an abnormality.
We are acknowledging that, this is an abnormality.
There you go.
Okay. All right,
Sure, thank you.
many board people,
Rich is writing it.
you're going to be the ones who ultimately vote on this. Are you good with this?
I don't like losing another instruction day, but it's an anomaly, so
You probably won't be on the board next time there's a full eclipse.
No, definitely not. I, from the very beginning, I was pro and con both ways. I can see it as an educator, what an awesome day you can make it, because years ago, my 5th graders had little black papers out on the blacktop, not looking at the sky, but looking at their black construction paper, seeing the eclipse through the little pinhole, and it was a phenomenal day, so I can see that part of it. The other flip side is, the other 6, half a dozen, 6, is I can see the city, the things that are gonna be going on in the city, that parents wanna spend this with their kids, that as teachers, maybe I would wanna do it with my own kids versus doing it with my school kids, and so I'm either way. So if the staff overwhelmingly, not just to include teachers, because I'm sure you polled your whole staff and both organizations have support staff members, then I don't think we should ignore that. I think we should take it to the board that the staff overwhelmingly, wants to do this, and then next year when we have that 5th or 6th snow day or
I was gonna say,
ice
then
or
you
whatever.
get the contact day back in.
There you go.
Yeah, you really
Yeah, just remember that the staff overwhelmingly thought it was okay to have 4 snow days when
Right.
we're on snow day number 8, because that could happen. The eclipse could cause all kinds of things to happen, so.
Just to put your mind at rest, so we had 535 responses, 360 said to do nothing. I mean, so it was
What's that
overwhelming.
percent, like 70%?
Yeah, 70%.
So just so you know, I mean, the next closest was 91. So, I mean, that's, it
Just
was,
out of curiosity, which was that, the 91?
for our organization, it was to extend when we got out for Christmas.
That was 91.
That was
So,
91.
Are we
See,
as
that
a-
was my first take, just to switch, change the Christmas thing and.
So are we as a group then okay with no attendance? And we'll figure out the
The contract days for the.
contract days as we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? Right?
Yeah,
Good?
I mean, they're saying they're gonna work with support, so.
FYI, if I may, this will be at a work session to the board then Monday night, but won't officially be approved till the 27th.
Okay, let's move on to the extra duty salary schedule. Paul, what you talked about in terms of after hours weightlifting, I don't know if that would belong better on here or better on the additional pay rates, but again, if you get a proposal from Dr. Haynes, and then we'll look, well, the summer is, but not after school. So basically, the only change on this was well, it's page 3 if you printed it out, category 14, I'm sorry. I took category 14 and moved it up along with category 11 because the numbers are the same. Although elementary student council is 905 or 1,086 for the year, flags have the same numbers. And as I got to looking at it, I don't know if that helped any or not. That was, at the time, it seemed like a good idea. But again, no real change, it's just which category does it fit in. And the summer school course teacher, that number has been changed. And again, there is a summer school schedule that's been approved by the board already that has that number on there. So I'll just, would say we ought to just take that off of there. Any questions, concerns on this item?
Is DECA paid at all high schools? Is the high school thing, right, DECA? At all of them, and it is paid. National Honor Society is not on this list. Not that I've seen, and I know we've discussed that in the past. It probably should be somewhere with FBLA, maybe, under category 7.
Do we?
Has it been paid at all yet? Never, okay.
Well, I think it was paid and then it wasn't paid. I think it was paid and
Okay.
then the stipend drama happened and then it was unpaid, and so they're still doing it, it's still happening. They're
So
just
they're-
not being compensated for their time.
Am I correct in assuming that's a high school only? thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, their student
Eric,
council.
what do you think?
No,
What do you
F-
think, like,
National Honor
how many
Society.
hours are on that? It's insane.
It's,
Do what?
it's a
It's
ridiculous
well, I
number
bet
of
college-
hours.
I'm just thinking, it's.
And Sherrard, Babe Sherrard.
Where
Yeah.
is, maybe I'm just not seeing it here yet, but class sponsor, is that on here as well, on
And
this
that was
one?
another one, class sponsor.
Where is class?
It's not on there.
It's not on there.
Because I thought we've talked about that before as well.
I don't think it's
When we
ever
put all
been
this
added.
together, you had to turn in the number of hours you had to go through, and you had to actually log your hours and turn in your hours, and only the categories that turned in that document were the ones put on here when we did the stipend committee. That's where this all came from, was we did that, and the people that did, the groups that didn't turn in their hours didn't.
Class sponsor was one of the things that was on the wish list when we
Oh,
first had.
that's
it.
right, that's where I
And
remembered it, okay.
that had very little traction.
It's
as I
gonna
recall.
have to.
Well,
at least
for
go
this
through
year it
that,
did.
Yeah, for this year.
Yeah,
But
So I wouldn't feel good about putting that on there because it didn't.
yeah.
I understand that.
Now, get a revenue source then. Just never know
I
what's
do
going
believe
on.
National Honor Society.
National Honor Society, in my mind, would be the same
As
way.
FBLA?
No, I mean,
I don't understand how FBLA and those are playing in DECA, but National Honor Society isn't.
what I'm saying, Alyssa, is I don't feel comfortable putting it on at this point when we have gone through that whole process in a very intricate manner. I think that's something that we move to the list again with class sponsors for next year. What do y'all think?
Yeah, because we've spent our 3 million, so if we add those and we're gonna pay out those additional stipends, that's more money. And we've spent our money for next year.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that National Honor Society shouldn't be paid, I'm just not,
I think it should be,
I
I
don't
think
think
class
we should
sponsors
be
should be
putting it on there
too.
now.
How about if we come back with numbers and say.
Right, how
here's-
many, is it just one person per high school? How many people is it? 1, 2 to per high
Well,
school?
really, I mean, you have your one head.
And then like, and it's,
I would have to really ask.
because it is a lot of hours.
Oh, it's.
And at
But
this
were they
point-
given the opportunity to turn in what you're talking about? and just didn't do it.
I can't see them not, I don't understand how they.
They're probably too busy to do it. I mean,
I
I
don't
hate to say
understand how they
that,
didn't
but it
make
sounds
the
dumb,
list,
but it
I
was.
guess is mine, cause
I
I
know
know a couple of them and
Oh,
I
my
can't see
gosh.
Becky not turning it in.
or Deb.
It's
I
tied
don't
to scholarship
see
monies
how-
also, National Honor
Right.
Society, so, I mean, that's important that our kids get that
Lafayette has
opportunity.
Lampion, and I'm not sure who the Lampion director, I mean, they put time in too, so you'd have to, they're just a little different than, I'm not sure.
Well,
but-
if you want to bring some numbers back, I think that's okay, we could consider them, but I'm hesitant to put anything in when we
And
talked about.
Class
the whole-
sponsor was on that other list, but National Honor Society wasn't. I guess I just thought it would be here.
And
Are the
that's
ones
why-
that
So it makes sense that it would be on this one, but it's not,
Were
so.
the ones that were listed here that we pay out, are those the ones that actually like take students out of school, like on different trips?
Or they have after-school programs that they do, it's one or the other, yeah.
Doesn't National Honor Society, they do after
I mean, there's a variety, I
I
think.
think they do,
so.
they do a lot of, they do a lot
Student
of stuff,
council,
yes.
orchestra,
Can you
cheerleaders.
contact Paul, have them turn in projected hours?
They're
Okay.
all things that have after-hours commitments.
Okay.
I don't know, I would think that we would leave it the same for now and get that new revenue source and we can, or get the revenue source back. More accurately stated.
Other issues on the salary schedule, the extra duty salary schedule.
It might be good somewhere to note that every so many years we revisit this. I mean, actually note that, say every 3 years we're gonna reevaluate. That was the problem we had before, was the numbers never changed on it. And if we had, something on here that says every 3 years, then we could actually say, hey, next year we're gonna look at the salary schedule for extra duties. And say, we're gonna look at adjusting those numbers upwards a little bit. Before we gave one number, you were a head coach for 1 year, you got the same salary as a head coach did for 20 years. So we broke those categories out, but there's no designation on, like with our curriculum, we do it every so many years. It might be nice somewhere to note, every 3 years, we're gonna look at the salary schedule and we're gonna reevaluate it.
Well, it's tied to the teacher base, Todd, so anytime the teacher
So
base
we're gonna
changes,
tie
well,
what you're,
am I wrong on that, Wes, or is this tied to the teacher base?
it is tied.
See the 36.2 in the upper
Yeah,
left?
so, I mean, that would, anytime
Oh,
a
good.
teacher base changed,
Excellent.
there would be a.
Then there
Okay.
should be a change in
Good.
this.
Well,
Oh, that's
they would have to
excellent.
vote to do it. though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
It's just like the administrative salary schedule is tied to the teacher base, but we did not vote to make that change last year. So it's still running on the teacher base from, was it 2 years ago?
14, 15.
Yeah, 14,
Yeah,
15.
basically, it's almost like we removed it.
And so we just have to designate this, that's to have to go to the board to be raised every,
Yeah, so when you raise the teacher base, you would
Then
make a
this
motion
would
to
be-
do it
We'd
on
have to
all
make
the
this
schedules
vote.
that are tied to the teacher base.
on all schedules,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha, excellent.
Another thing, Dr. Kraus, there is the high school and middle school yearbook, and I know that some elementary schools have a yearbook as well that is required by their administrator or something. So that's something else that I would like for us to consider and think about as we go into next year, because we want it to be equitable.
Sure. Okay. What else? Alrighty then, let's look at the Hilliard schedule. This it says 2016-17 on there, but that would be what we would do for 17-18. Dr. Merritt, I had looked through all of the programs that they do, and he believes that everything fits in there. The biggest group of those are the instructor, contact classes that range from $30 to $55 an hour. There's a wide range of things in there. There's probably 20 different classes, and those have been paid that way for a lot of years, as I understand. The only thing that is new on this list is the ballroom dancing instructors. That was on the additional pay rates, and I pulled it off of there because to me it made more sense to have it with the other Hilliard things. Same amount of money, just in a different place. He said that you used to teach that class.
I actually took that class in Missouri Western with Dr. Chambers, but
Yeah, Paul Chambers, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
So any
Awesome.
comments, concerns on the Hilliard evening short-term schedule? Okay, we're gonna have to struggle to get my 5:30 goal, but we'll be close. added to our agenda, we talked about library facilitator and para contract days. My understanding of this situation, just in the time I've been here, was 15-16, you had 181 contract days. This year, you have 174.
Yeah, it
Correct?
was the same as teachers.
Okay. I know that there was a lot of discussion about this. I think the general consensus from the discussions was that, yes, we feel like some days need to be added back, but nobody knew exactly how many. I've heard comments from principals on library facilitator days saying, well, yeah, everywhere from 1 to 7. I've heard with para days everywhere from 1 to 5. I didn't have anybody here to say 6 or 7 on that. So I do feel like there's been general consensus from everybody that it's essential that the paras are there when you're doing the all-building trainings and those sorts of things.
And that is October 10th. Or not October, August. October on the
If they're
brain.
not starting until October 10th, there's going to be less days.
August 10th, sorry.
Those are our all building days.
That is an all-building PD day.
Okay.
I met with the mini board this afternoon before we came up, and if I misspeak, ladies, correct me. Kind of what we wanted to present as a starting point for the discussion was to add 5 back for the library facilitators and 3 back for the paras. That's kind of a place to start the discussion. What do y'all
What
think?
about all other, like, the other support staff? Like, I'm not a para, but
I think
where do the other support people fall?
probably in the 3 days, I would guess. I think that the discussion was that the library facilitators, well, first of all, their duties seem to vary pretty broadly from school to school, but I think it's important that they're consistent. So the thought was 5 days there and 3 for the paras, and that would get you there for all the beginning of school stuff.
So it wouldn't have to be the 3 days before, like they could come on the 10th for the all building PD and then be off the 11th, and then come the 14th,
Well,
15th?
or-
Because that
Well,
doesn't
we were
take, if you
thinking
say 3 days, it doesn't get
Yeah.
you back to the all school PD, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we
it's
were
gonna vary by
having-
building
we
too,
were
there'll be
having-
some
So
variances,
now we have
I'm
to
sure.
question though, what's gonna happen with the 21st, because should that 21st be part of those 3 days and 5 days, or isn't that what your question was earlier about, what are we gonna do with the 21st now?
Well, if we added 3 days to what they have now, it would cover that.
They'd still net 2.
Yeah.
That too, yeah.
Okay.
You couldn't say they could.
Well,
go
no,
in
they
two
would still net
beginning
3
of the
because
year.
right now
Well,
they have.
Right,
but-
yeah,
but
but we took
subtract
one
out
away.
the 1,
and
it nets
That's what
2
we're
out
saying.
change, so.
One was taken.
So let me ask this question, so then, okay, so we have, say they start the 10th. Let's just talk pairs. They'll come the 10th, then have a 3-day weekend, why not? And come the 14th and 15th, okay? So that gives them 3 extra days, so then when the 21st rolls around, that's a non-paid day, because they have these 3 other days that have been added to the beginning of the calendar,
They
is
would
that
be,
right?
then they would be back to 2 extra days, and I would suggest that we would then have them come on the 21st to
The
help
after
clean
school
up,
stuff, yeah.
or else do a 4th day before. If we're not going to be in attendance the 21st, which is what we've decided at this point, in order to give them a net gain of 3 days, they're really going to have to be there for those days, because the 21st is now off the calendar.
Then they come back on
So
the
then they would
10th.
come back on the 10th and just stay 10th, 11th, 12th.
Or
They-
that,
That way, or come on the 21st of May. either
Right.
way.
the last
all
day
right.
is, that might be
That'd be all
more
right.
beneficial.
Yeah, that'd be better.
to
Amy, what do you
them.
think?
The
What,
last
would you be needed more on the last day of school, or, and 3 before, or, not on the last day of school, on the teacher work day?
The teacher work day,
On the 21st
the
there,
day after kids are done.
21st of May.
Well, not last year, but the year before, we did absolutely nothing on the last day because our stuff was done. So I felt like we were just standing around getting paid to do nothing.
So in your mind, if you
But
came
every
the,
school is different.
oh, okay.
I
yeah.
mean, versus us coming in early, before school starts. We're totally different than the elementary settings because they gotta
Right.
get classrooms ready, whereas us in middle school on the sped wing, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, just from my school and knowing how many paras we have with our sped programs, there's a lot more at the beginning of the year than I don't see them really having anything to do on that teacher workday.
But what about library facilitators though?
They need to come the day after, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, yeah, because
May
they've
21st.
They've got to back up
Yeah.
and stuff.
They'd have a lot to do.
On May 21st.
Yeah, I would think they would definitely, would need to be there on the
I would
21st.
say as long as the
So they would
facilitators
do-
are paid
So
for
we
that
would
last day,
have
then we'll
4
be good.
days at the
They would do
beginning
the
of
9th and the 10th and the 14th and the 15th, like the pairs have a 3-day weekend in there.
Well, you
and
need
then
to do the math.
21st.
How many days are you gonna give them?
5.
No. How many total days are you gonna pay them?
Paras, if we were talking 3 days above what they have now, would be 177.
Okay, so you start with 168 school days. They would need how many more days then? 9? So then you gotta count 9 more days to make it come out correct. And you'd have your 4 PD days during the year. That would leave you 5 if they would have to come in before school started.
So that would be,
Four at the end.
Or you'd have to add a day at the end.
So it looks like they could either go the 9th through the 15th, or like do 9, 10, 14, 15, and 21, something like that. And with the library facilitators, if we give them, we were talking 5 days, right? That would be 179. Minus the 168 would be 11, take the 4. We need to find 7 days for them. Where are we gonna find 7 days?
That's what I tried to tell you when you were trying to cut that pay out. You're gonna be short days. I wanna make sure you guys are doing the math right for me.
Come back, we may wanna change it.
Well, we definitely want to do probably the 9th, 10th, 11th, because we talked about the 9th, they could be easier to get the stuff out to the new teachers and all. So 5 days would be the 9th, 10th, 11th, 14th, and 15th. And then they would come the 21st, we just said they probably need to be there then, that's 6 days, right?
could they be there the 22nd as well?
And maybe be there the 22nd, do they need to be there for summer school stuff to go out?
Because if they work summer school, they get paid.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so currently, this year, they didn't have any of those extra days. So anything we add is more than what they had last year. So I don't understand how Wes is saying,
Don't question the
I'm
list.
questioning Wes, and I wanted to question him before he left.
Okay, here's,
Working on.
I need to wrap my brain around this math.
by osmosis, it drifted over to me.
Okay, explain.
Well, we have a 2-day shorter calendar.
Right.
So the extra days
So
that we were
two.
talking about, 2 of them don't really exist
Okay.
anymore, because
isn't the
this
teacher
current year is a
calendar
170-day calendar, and we're looking at a 168.
We have an extra.
So we've added
So
2 days.
by add, you can't, you're already from those 7 days they lost, are already down at 5.
Okay,
See,
that's what I need to know. Thank you.
I think that's what Wes would have said if he were here.
I'm assuming. It sounds right, now that I understand.
Probably Dr.
I'm still
Gross knows
confused.
better than
Well,
Wes.
Well, do you
It
have
is
to add
confusing,
5
yeah.
to librarians if they can get the job done in 3? I mean, why, if,
Well, the thing is, if we don't
But you
add that
can't add
many,
it.
they're gonna get less
Yeah.
for next year because our calendar's less.
Would it not make sense? to
That's
have
what-
everybody
that's
come
what
in
just
those
happened.
5 days before?
If you did the 170-day calendar, see, there's 2
That's what we
school
said.
days that you're missing.
Yeah.
The
right.
9th through the 15th would be 5 days, the 21st would be the 6th day. You said we need to have them in 7 days.
That's what
Yeah.
Brian came up with his math, yeah.
So then they would
I
just,
lose them the 2 instructional days because we're supposed to be on a 170-day
then they would have to
calendar.
go
We're already-
the same number of days that.
Then they just can't go the eclipse, they have to work, no.
If they start the
there's
same
still
day as
one
we
left.
do.
Well, it'd just
are
be a
they still
1-year
off?
anomaly though. I mean, right? It'd just be this 1 year that would hold true next year.
They're still gonna get more days than what they had last year.
Right. So
Or this
it'd just be
That's
this
what we're
1 year
saying.
though where librarians were short. Now, next year you could take them right back, add the 2
They
days
would go back
in.
if you went back to your 170
Right, that's how you ought to
Okay.
handle it. Then
That's
next
fine.
year adjust 2.
On the library facilitators, I would recommend that they work the 2 parent-teacher conference nights
Oh, and they
For book
already.
fair.
for
They
book
already-
fair, so there's 2 days.
No, they
That's
already do.
extra pay.
That's part of the 168 days.
That's extra.
But the day we get off,
It's
Yeah.
counted into their
Yeah, that's
days.
counted
They
onto our
get that
days,
day off
yeah.
It's
too.
like a comp day.
Yep.
Yep.
Comp day.
They get those days. That's why, see, that Friday, those
so
Fridays,
why
the
was
one in
this year
October.
such an issue with library
Because they didn't
facilitators?
start till the first day of school.
No, but there was concerns over parent-teacher conferences too.
Misinformation.
Shouldn't have been, they didn't understand.
So the library facilitators got paid for the parent-teacher conferences?
They were on the same calendar as everybody else.
Right, but they were not expected to work the nights. correct?
Well, I don't know, that's up to the
If they
building.
took the Friday off, they should have worked the nights, because that Friday comp day is for anybody who's there, secretaries, libraries, teachers, paras.
So that Friday that we're off is counted as a work day for them?
Yeah,
Right, yeah,
they
right.
get paid for that day, but they're not there that day.
Right.
Yeah, because they work 2 nights.
Right.
Okay,
They
I don't
work- they
think
work-
that was clear this year.
They worked, they had to work enough hours. If they didn't work enough hours,
Make
they
sure
were
it's clear
shorted.
before next week.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
You verify that.
Yeah.
They had to work enough hours. They had to work 7.5 hours those
To
2
get paid for the
nights
Friday.
to get paid for the full amount.
Oh,
because they're
yeah.
hourly
They're
employees.
Good to know. Thank you.
I'd say they're working at least
So
8.
Wes,
Yeah, I'm sure.
what's
they
the solution to this? How many days can we go?
And can you clarify, you keep saying 2 days, okay,
We're supposed to be at 170 school days.
okay, and we
We're at
picked
100
Eclipse Day,
Well, and then we were already short one because
Okay.
we started with 169.
okay.
Yeah.
So we lost 2 already.
Okay.
So that makes it 2.
Thank you.
But I mean, I feel like any days we give them is gonna be more, so I agree that.
Right, so for the 1
Right
year, you
now,
just,
and then we readjust for.
And next year you add the
Phone.
2 back
And
in
then
and you're
next year
set.
you add the two,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we want to be sure and get all the days in, Dr. Newhart, so. We're going back to 170.
They don't wanna know my,
He's
Do you
gonna say
have
one.
wisdom you'd like to impart upon us?
Don't call on him.
actually, what I would like to do is begin at 164. That's what you know you're gonna attend.
Take out the.
Take out the snow days. And add your days in, so if you wanna pay them 4 or 5 more days, whatever,
Yeah.
that takes it up to 169. Then if we have a snow day, they don't have to worry about it, but if they work that day, we pay them for that day. Instead of having all this fluctuation
That's
that
what
we have now.
happens, and it makes it so much easier. There's not a question on whether
It's true
a
days
classified
worked.
staff gets paid or doesn't get paid when you don't build in your snow days. That's why this district is the only district that I know of in 500-mile radius that builds in snow days still,
Yeah,
because
we're one of 10 statewide.
in the whole state
that
that's
has
still
this
building
type
snow
of
days.
calendar.
And so that's why we have have I not said from the beginning, if we
No.
just wouldn't build in the snow days, we wouldn't have our trouble paying our people for when they work, classified staff I'm talking about. It makes all the difference in the world.
you are correct. They will take a 6-day cut in pay.
People don't like that.
Not
No, you
unless
pay
they,
him-
not
Not
unless
if
they
you
work
do, not if you calculate the calendar at 164 days.
Yeah.
Because now they're taking a 6-day cut in
Yes.
pay.
That's right.
That's a discussion for next year.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
Let's-
that's the thing. You're cutting their pay by 6 days.
Unless
Because
that
if-
works.
Because if you
You
don't
don't
work,
work them because you make them up.
yeah,
Yeah,
So you're not gonna work extra days.
yeah.
You're not gonna work to the 170 days. The
Yeah.
only way you work the 170 days is if we don't have any snow days.
we
Right.
worked 5 of those days last year, Wes.
Right, because they were paid for those days.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you
Yeah.
cut it back.
But we still, that's what I'm saying, we pay them for those days.
Right,
If
but-
we don't have the snow days.
Right.
Yeah, then we pay them.
Right, but if you cut the calendars back, if you cut them back to 164 days, you don't pay them for those 6 days.
That just
Yeah.
means we'd make up rain though.
No.
In their, in
Because-
their, until they are
Unless we made them
worked.
all up at the end of the year.
No, because
But
your
it would only be
164-day calendar, now your snow days are
164.
dead, so when you miss a day here, it's
No,
made
no,
make it
up.
up
we still
elsewhere.
have 170, we still have the 170-day calendar with 6 built-in days. But what you're doing is on their letters of intent, when you send those
Right.
out, you're figuring their work year on 164.
Yeah, and then at the
Then
end, you pay them if we
if
make
we
them.
miss
I
one
understand.
day of
Okay.
snow days,
I
Now
get
I
it.
see what
He's
you're
saying,
going
they're
Okay,
saying.
So
okay,
you're still gonna do your
Something
calendar at
So,
170
okay,
days.
Yes.
got
So
it.
you're still building in the snow days.
Yes.
But what you're telling,
He
what you're
didn't
telling
share
those
things.
Yeah,
staff.
Yeah,
okay.
you guys are on different.
Yeah, you're on different
I
pages.
see now.
You,
Yeah.
if you're gonna build a calendar and you build them in, and this is our last day of school, for 170 days, you have to include that in the contract. That's how you have to do it.
That's right.
And I need to
Because that
ask,
is your calendar, Robert.
You can set their workday schedule, Wes, however you want to set their workday schedule.
We can be here all night talking.
Randy had a
You guys going right by each
I
other
need to
there.
ask for a little bit of clarification because
Oh,
when
great.
when it was brought up before about a snow day and that we were to use a PTO day or take a no pay, and we were told we could not report to buildings. We've now found out
That's next on
several
the agenda.
buildings are not abiding by that in Paris, and people are going in and working those days and not having to take a PTO, because they're going in and doing something in their building.
And-
So,
and the-
some of us are still having to take days because our building principal said no, we were told no, but some people are being allowed to go in and do things.
That has
It was
happened.
the email I sent to you.
Yep.
Yeah, so we kind of want to know
The,
if we can go in and at least work half a day and take a half a
well,
PTO
here's,
day, that would work better for some of us.
yeah, here's how that will be handled, Randy. We're gonna follow the policy until the policy changes.
Okay.
The information that's gonna go to principals is that if you allow people to come in, they're gonna be written up for insubordination. We'll pay the people who came in and,
That's right.
and tell them not to,
Okay,
that that's not allowed unless they're requested to come in.
okay.
Because that's what policy says,
Because that's
and
what
we're
the
following
policy is.
policy.
Well, I'm trying my best,
Okay.
yes.
Question. So, I'm trying to understand this, and it has nothing to do with snow days. So, at the beginning of the year, for 9-month paras, are we working August 9th through August 15th now? Or?
No, that
When-
was
When we
library.
determine the number of calendar days,
Which has not been determined yet, right?
no.
Okay.
I wish it had. but it hasn't. Yeah. When we determine the total number of days, Amy, then we'll sit down and say what makes the most sense. Does it make the most sense to have them here before and not on the last day of school? Or,
To me, the last day of school on the
Teacher
middle
workday.
Teacher
school
workday.
level
Yeah.
is a waste of time.
well, and like I said,
facilitators.
that's a decision. First, we need to decide how many total days are you contracted for, and then we'll build the calendar however it makes
So,
sense.
right now, we're at 168, right? If we
I
add
believe so.
3
Start paying them.
for paras, that would be
You start
171.
paying them what you do,
This year they were at 170, so we didn't really.
And then you add the 4 PD days in.
Seriously,
So
That's
170,
175.
175.
give them 177,
Right.
pay them.
168 is the student
Student
days.
days.
Oh, okay,
Then the
168
4
plus
PD
4.
days.
Yeah.
Then plus whatever before.
172, 172 plus 3,
175.
175. So you would be at 175.
Cultural thing that we want to
That isn't.
On the middle
We did
school
it for 1
level,
year. so they're walking.
even,
You just get 3 days. So 3 days.
and those 2
No,
days,
it's
there's nothing else to here, because our
PD days or the days before?
Days before.
Okay,
So are
if-
you asking for,
But each school is
I was gonna say,
different.
be careful here.
I know, I'm like,
I'm speaking from my building.
let me,
Okay, well, you have to, the whole group.
let me ask you a question just to make sure I understand this correctly. Current year, 170 days. Student contact days.
But we have PD
But we're going back to 168. So we're minus 2 days.
168 plus 4 PD.
So when they had 171, we take those 2 off, it'd be 169. So if we added 5 to the library facilitators and 3 to the paras, we would still fit within the number of total days available.
171.
How many days do they work when it was at 171?
That's,
Their contract was 181.
181,
They were 181 and now
Yeah.
they're at 174.
right.
And you want
And
to
then
take it
that
back
gives
to
them
177.
that get them to 175, pairs to
So
175,
say
and it would get
175
facilitators to 177 for this year.
For this year.
Because you have to add in our 4 PD days, so 168 plus 4 is 172. You add 3 to the pairs is 175, that would be their contract. And then facilitators, if you add 5, that's 177.
That's right.
Okay.
And, I mean, yeah, we already know it's a 2-day
Clear
short
as mud.
schedule, so
Does
that's
that sound
all
like
we
an
can do.
equitable arrangement to you guys for this year, for
More
next
than
year?
what we had
Yeah.
last, or this year. I should
And then
say,
next
currently.
year, when we do that calendar, we'll add those 2 contact days back in, so you should go up 2 more.
Well, then we'll discuss it.
Should. Theoretically, that's how the world should work.
Okay. So, for next year, do we have tacit approval to go adding, we would add to 175, which right now,
Okay,
you're at 170.
177.
Now I confused myself.
Okay, what, are you talking about Paris?
If we went to 175 and
174.
177, that would only add 1 day for you for this next year, but when what Alyssa said makes sense, that if we get back to 170, then the following year we'd add 2 more back.
Right.
So
And
then
it's
we
still
get
more
back
than this.
3 days total.
Yeah, it would be,
Over 2 years.
but for next year, it would be just 1 more day than this year, and library
Because of the
facilitator,
eclipse.
because of the
Right.
eclipse day and the 1 day that we'd already given up.
So then we would only report on August 10th.
No, you would report 3 days, because our calendar's short.
Yeah.
Calendar's 2 days.
That's the
short.
issue.
Yeah, you'd still have
Yeah,
three,
it'd
You would
probably
have
be up
3
to the
days before.
principal.
3 days before kids.
Up to the building principal, what?
Or
three-
whatever
What, 3 days,
the
correct?
principal-
No, we're not gonna do that.
No, we gotta be.
We'll set
no.
Well, because what if they have a different PD
Dr.
day?
Kraus
Are
was-
all
We've got it
of-
scheduled.
It's
Are
all,
sure all of
set.
them?
it's all
Okay.
set, and if something
We're
happens.
looking at it.
Because I know sometimes some building PDs are different than other building PDs.
Like
This
they're
year
done
is
this
all
way.
on the same from what I
This year
understand.
they're different.
correctly.
Norms.
Yes.
Okay.
August 10th
Yep,
is
let's get right back in here, folks. So we decided 1 more additional day for the paras because we're already 2 days short. So they'll go from 174 to 175, library facilitators from 174 to 177.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
They
Hallelujah.
get their time before school that they didn't
Yes.
have this year.
And we, right,
What we
making
need.
sure, and we will
And they
set
got
the
those awesome
calendars with
raises.
input from the principals,
Right.
okay?
Can you
Last
read
thing.
that back one more time? Can you read back the final?
She had stopped typing about 20 minutes ago. Just kept tumbling the same way.
Should have played solitaire.
I just need one more.
Paras, we will add 1 day back, which makes them 175 days.
That's,
Library facilitators will add 3 days back, which makes them 177.
Okay.
should it be said that way because our calendar's short?
Yeah.
I'm afraid if you say that, they think they're only gonna get 1 day before.
Yeah.
Instead of the 3.
Like I
So
did.
since our calendar's 168, you get 3 days before.
Say it however you want.
I just don't want
I think
people
you're right.
to say,
Yes,
oh, we only
it's
got
really
1
they're
more
getting
day.
3 days.
Yeah, but
Get
I
7
clear
days total.
communication is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Well,
Right.
they won't be reading these minutes.
Okay.
Right.
So
So
it'll be
when
the way
we
you
communicate,
to them.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's up to you to fix
And
it.
once you have
We'll
the
work
dates,
on that.
that'll help too.
Even though I have suggestions.
Okay,
We can give them specifics.
well ordered
Yeah,
days.
we can say specifics.
Tell me what,
but-
I can hardly wait. Tell me what the comments were.
Well, no, we just heard
What Brandy
like
was saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically the same thing that especially one building, pretty much all of the paras were allowed to come in and work. When the understanding and communication from our understanding had been they are not allowed to be in the building on those
No,
days.
I hadn't heard of any buildings where they all came in. What building was this? Just theoretically, which building was this?
I'm not saying that right now. We can
Yeah.
talk
Or
to this later.
Let me know.
I will.
Yeah.
All I want to tell you is that the expectations were clearly communicated to all of the principals multiple times, and principals are just like other employees. Sometimes they don't do what you expect them to do.
I do have a question as opposed, are the the librarians in secondary are certified?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, me as a certified staff member, if we have it like a cold day or something, sometime, or even on like staying late or on a Saturday, sometimes we're allowed to go in the building, get caught up on work, and work, right? Because we're certified, we're salary. Those extra times really don't matter, but sometimes we need the extra time in a room, correct?
Yes.
Does that apply to librarians then that are certified, that they could theoretically go in because they're certified? They're
Any
not
certi-
hourly,
any
so they
certified
could, those
salary-
librarians can go in.
Yes.
So on a board order day, if the certified librarians went in to do work,
Yes.
because it doesn't matter to, in their scope, they can, but the paras, because they're hourly, cannot.
Correct.
And library aides.
In library aides, any hourly employee cannot go into work unless like they're summoned by the principal.
Anyone who is non-exempt under FLSA.
Well, yeah, and FMLA.
Not FMLA.
Oh, I thought you said
FLSA.
FLSA.
Fair Labor
Okay.
Standards.
Fair labor.
But like if the principal called in the secretary saying, hey, I'm getting a lot of phone calls or some kid showed up, I need
If the principal
backup.
calls and says, I need you in there, then they have the
And that's
authority to
fine.
do that.
And that's in the policy.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm just putting it all out there. Anybody certified can go in off normal
Well,
contract.
anybody's salary,
time.
because I'm not certified, but I'm on salary.
12
Salary, anybody's
12
salary,
people.
salary.
12-month wage people.
Well,
Are in anyway.
and that's,
Yeah.
they're,
They're
Yes.
it's a little bit
They're already
different.
But anybody salaried can go in to get
Yes.
caught up or do whatever we need to do.
Because they're exempt from the
Yeah,
Fair
I mean,
Labor
we
Standards Act.
usually tell our admin we're going in, we don't just show up generally.
Right.
Okay, it's the issue with the paras and the facilitators that are hourly, they should not be going in on those days. And principals should not be allowing them to be in on those days.
Correct.
Correct, unless they're
Believe me, I
secretary
do not
themselves.
want to call school off.
Okay,
I don't. He said he didn't want to call school off.
Well, we're a little later than I'd hoped, but I think
Homework
we're,
assignments.
do whatever homework you want.
well, we have the National Honor Society.
One
Yeah.
parting thought I would like
I wanna
to leave you
get hours
with.
on the class.
I didn't experience this like many of you did, but this district's been through a lot of turmoil lately, and I feel like things are on the way up. There are some people who seem to want to be stuck in the past. All of you as leaders, the reason you're in this room is because you're a leader of whatever group you're with. I would just like to encourage you that anytime you have the opportunity, words are very powerful. You can either use those words to calm and restore, or you can use them to incite and divide. I hope all of you are going to choose to calm and restore, because I think that can be done. We have that power just in this room. The reason you're here, like I said, is people listen to you, your leaders. That's why you got selected to do this. So please, let's keep that in mind. I think that's, we're right on the brink. We can go one way or the other. We can sink back to where we were, or we can decide we're gonna rise above that. So I'd just like to encourage you guys to do that anytime you have the opportunity. That's the end of the sermon. So,
Amen.
thank you very much, and we'll see you in 5 weeks, I guess, since we're a week early.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good
thank you.
luck.